Rolling up in blacked out cars, talking like they own the stars. Smiling for the camera flash, hands in your pocket, counting cash. Trust us, this time they'll stay. Same old trick in a brand new script. Waving papers, selling hope. Fine print line is a velvet rope. Blue suit, black heart, saying we feel your pain from the country club bar. Big speed, fake tears. Every 4 years they remember we're here. They're saving the world on a t-shirt sign while they're sipping that vintage red on your dime. Blue suits, black hearts. They love the power more than the people they mark. Every problem, they've got plans. Step 1, take more from your hands. Step 2, pick a team to blame. Step 3, walk off with the game. Talking justice, talking care. Till you ask, hey, why's my street bare? They built mansions on those dreams, then called you cruel when you asked what it meant. Blue suits, black hearts, saying we feel your pain from the country club bar. Big speeds, fake tears. Every 4 years they remember we're here. They're saving the world on a t-shirt sign while they're sipping that vintage red on your dime. Blue suits, black hearts. They love the power more than the people they mark. Raise your hand if you're tired of the show. Same old play in a thrift store coat. They talk like saints, vote like sharks, writing your life with invisible marks. Blue suits, black hearts, saying we feel your pain from the country club bar. Big speed, fake tears. Every 4 years they remember we're here. They're saving the world on a t-shirt sign while they're sipping that vintage red on your dime. Blue suits, black hearts, yeah. The mask falls off when the cameras go dark. Blue suits, black hearts, we're done.
I think we're live.
We are live.
Hello, everybody, and it's California Free Radio. I am so happy to be back. Delighted. I know you haven't seen me for 2 weeks, but I'm back now everywhere from overseas to the California Republican Convention. And what I've learned is I love living in California, but I'm also want everyone to know that there's a lot we can do here. And if you're not out there getting tired of what you see and why we exist as citizen journalists, I don't know what to tell you, haven't paid attention. You need to help us spread the word because the word needs to be spread. Just this week alone in the state of California, not only are they continuing to pass additional taxes, but as you see, they're not quashing us yet on @NetterMike, @TextFighter7, Outrage, our YouTube channel, but they're trying to quash us. They're trying to quash us on Facebook. They're trying to quash us everywhere with a bill they're trying to pass that would fine citizen journalists, yes, up to $10,000 per episode for exposing the truth. Because as we get closer and closer every day to corruption, as we get closer and closer to every day trying to build a better life for us, which is why I'm running for State Senate 22 in East San Gabriel Valley. I want it to be a better state to live in, not a state where we hide the things going wrong, not a state where we're afraid to speak up, as we shouldn't be anywhere in the United States. Scott Piotr and Kurt English, my two co-hosts, are with me this week.
Hey, guys.
It's been a while, gentlemen, since the three of us together, known as the Three Lot of Things. Give me some feedback on what you see California doing this week. Kurt, I know you've assembled a lot of stories.
Well, I think
Kurt,
the issue you just raised, Mike, is a very important issue. There's a bill that would attempt to criminalize citizen journalists. Unfortunately for the Democrats, the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution guarantees both freedom of speech and freedom to redress government for grievances. And so the law is clearly unconstitutional and will be struck down in federal court if they pass it. And I would advocate if it does pass, the DOJ should send a letter to our corrupt Attorney General Bonta threatening jail time for anyone who attempts to conspire to violate civil rights by enforcing that law.
Okay, so you're talking about the law that they're going to pass that's going to forbid journalists from discovering fraud.
It penalizes journalists for showing videos. It's kind of vague the way it's written. It's meant to serve. Look, gentlemen, let's be clear. The Democrats are about suppressing the vote, in much as they say they're not. They are about suppressing from journalism, the truth, everything that they can do possibly to keep the power for themselves in California. We, on our side, are really about exposing the truth, breaking down the fraud, and we talk smaller government on the conservative side, which means more freedom. Bigger government means less freedom. That's probably one of the big substantial differences between conservatives and liberals when you really cut through it. And liberals like to come in and say, hey, we're doing this to help you out, and they're not. We've had some great developments, I think, this week in terms
I'm
of
from the government and I'm here to help, right? Sorry.
From the government, and I'm here to help, right? We're going to get in later to talking about, I spent a lot of time at the Republican convention, obviously, this weekend. I want to talk about how what happened at that convention is actually should drive more conservatives out to vote this election cycle. But I also want to talk about, if you haven't been paying attention, I have this on Netter News this week, literally the ridiculousness of what the California government is doing. And Chris Ruffo broke the story. My buddy Susan Crabtree piled on it today. And this is almost too insane to be real, where the government is trying to help. Gentlemen, you know what I'm referring to, right?
Sakatumi, as they used to say out laughing.
Okay, this is literally almost off a comedy show. We've been kind of aware that we have been supplying illegal immigrants or illegal aliens, let's cut to it, with healthcare in California. On our taxpayer dime, you know where I'm going with this, right, Scott?
Yeah.
But it's just come out this week from a whistleblower who couldn't go on camera because they could get fined, right? That we apparently have been supplying illegal aliens with free sex changes, transitioning as they call it. On a quick side note, it's funny, I talked to a cousin of mine today who I'm going to be visiting in a few weeks, and he said, I'm getting out of New York, it's too liberal for me, I'm transitioning to Florida. He's a conservative, and he stopped himself, and I go, Andrew, he goes, yeah. I go, just say moving. So we apparently have been supplying illegal aliens who come over to this country for whatever guise and whatever reason with, I don't even know if healthcare is the right word for it. Gentlemen, you got to help me out. I've been off for 2 weeks.
Well, Mike, there's a bright side here. If we're castrating illegal aliens,
No, in this case, they're just getting fake boobs at taxpayer expense.
Oh, I thought we were.
Although they talk about getting their bottom surgery at some point in time. California Post is the one that broke the story.
I don't care. Yes, if however we're moving around body parts, and we could do a whole show on that, Maybe we should call that show
No,
Direct.
we could, but we are not.
We're not going to, right? Exactly. Here's the reality, okay? Who in the hell on either side of the aisle voted for in a state where we have 40-50 billion dollar deficit, where we don't audit a damn thing, okay? And we've actually got a video to talk about that later tonight by Herb Morgan for Controller, where the Democrats own 2/3 of the seats in a state, again, where they only have about a 48% of the electorate. Let's cut through it. Another reason, Mike Netter for state senate, okay? We are using our tax money for people to come over here and change their sex on our dime. And before anybody out there, and I really want to tell you, if you have liberal friends, invite them, because I like to open the dialogue, because even women are like, men don't belong in women's prison. There are a lot of liberal women's rights groups ticked at California and a few other states because we put men who said, well, today I'm going to be a woman, and although I'm serving time for 40 years for murdering somebody, I am going to use a high voice, and I would like to be put in the women's prison. And we're doing that. And guess what? Here's a shocker. It's not ending well. And now we're transitioning, change. I don't even know the right word for it from the conservative side. I don't think we have one in our vocabulary, but let's put that down. And we're paying for it on our dime. Who the expletive deleted is authorizing this, and why hasn't this been known to us earlier? Gentlemen, I'm going to toss it back to you before I have a cardiac arrest.
Mike, that's a great voice, that little woman's voice.
Well, I'm glad you like it. If I ever go to prison, I plan on using it.
Yeah. So then all these predators, male predators in jail for rape, pretend to be women, they get put in the women's jail. Duh, there's not going to be a problem there.
Well, I think the liberals intend all this.
The problem with liberal ideology is it just doesn't work. It's just
beyond
it defies logic.
I want to jump in here. This is beyond liberal ideology. And I think the problem is that we only have a conservative and liberal ideology. And just as the press is very willing to jump in and say there's an extreme right, there's a portion of the left which actually doesn't, I don't even think it fits in with the liberal ideology. Hold on. Let's also talk about the fact, I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, short, tall, that if you have a friend or, yes, Stephanie, it's very twisted, who is murdered, killed, a child that is molested or have been that child, that you're going to let that perpetrator out of jail simply because they've turned 50 years old, even though they've been sentenced to life in prison? We didn't vote for that. No one voted for that. It makes virtually no sense. When somebody does something that is so hideous, they are put in prison for a reason, because they did something that was so hideous. Okay, let's be clear on that. And they did something that was so hideous, they are put into prison for a long period of time. And you know who's one of the perpetrators of the theory of it's not your fault? Who came out in this last week? Huh?
Liberals.
But I'm getting to a specific liberal, Kurt.
There's so many to choose from, Mike.
Well, let's pick one of the master ones. That's Jennifer Sybil Newsom.
Oh, what? I can't say it on the show.
Yes, what an expletive deleted.
She's evil. Yeah, she's evil.
Hold on. A story I forgot about, and she was talking to a group of prisoners, and I had forgotten about this story. And I was talking to a couple of reporters at the convention about it. I totally forgot about it. Apparently, when she was a teenager, she ran over her sister with a golf cart and killed her.
Ooh.
Yes, and she's very uh, perfunctory about it, shall we say.
Yes, that's a good word for it. And so she's telling prisoners, well, I realize it wasn't my fault. So hence the fact you murdered, maimed, or hurt a child isn't your fault either.
What?
Exactly what she said. It's on tape. You could see it. We'll put it out on my feed at Netter Mike again. This is the kind of mentality of the people running her state. I get it. And I'm sorry she's a scarred person, but scarred people, and although many of you out there going, well, this boy's a little scarred himself, maybe he should run for state senate. I should. I'm not as scarred as these people are.
Yeah, but Mike, she's just one of Harvey's girls.
She was.
The whole, right. That brings up another whole interesting scenario that these people apparently toting around huge wads of guilt and which we'll call baggage, think that it's not their fault. And the fact, and again, this is part of what they call the criminal justice thing. Well, you were raised poor, you were raised bad, you were bullied in school, hence it's okay that you played with a small child, murdered somebody, committed a violent act. No, it's not. And let's draw that line, society. No, it's not. And once you do something like that, if we can't execute you, and remember Newsom's the one that killed the death penalty in the state of California, one of the major reasons
against the voters' wishes.
Against the voter wishes. I was just going there. We voted twice. We're all for the death penalty. There's a point where it's like, dude, or dudette, trying to be politically correct, though it's mainly dudes, you should not be alive. You shouldn't be even society. And now they're releasing these people into society. They're putting men who talk like this. And as you can see, if I ever went to prison, I might be able to get away with it and go to a women's prison. Hey, how do you think that's going to work out? You dinks, it's not going to work out well. Okay? And yet, the people that are proposing this, like Jennifer Sybil Newsom, that are backing the people doing it, live behind big walls with armed guards, etc., etc. It's again the problem of the limousine liberals. Folks, my host hit me on this.
So you're saying that not only is she a limousine liberal, but she has her own guilt issues, and she's taking it out on us to try and relieve her own guilt issues. You shouldn't be guilty either. If you hurt somebody, it was because you were bullied. It's not your fault. Just like it's not her fault that she killed her sister. And I have no idea what the circumstances were on that. And man,
limousine liberals in general. Well, who knows? Who cares? I don't care, and I'm not trying to be whatever. Okay, limousine liberals in general seem to want to put some guilt issue that they have, and they get in a position of power. I feel guilty because I'm rich. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm going to make a full confession on air right now, even though I'm running for state senate. Are you ready? I feel guilty because I'm not rich. Okay?
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure. Not really, but that's neither here nor there. You
don't have a $9 million mansion on the coast like the Newsoms.
And a $6 million mansion to back it up. I do not. Okay.
Okay.
I do
Just
not
checking.
feel guilty, right? What I feel guilty about is what happens in our state. And the thing I do feel guilty about is that until the recall came along 6 years ago, I wasn't acting on it. What I also feel is that all of you out there spread the word that you have to vote. The voter turnout, to say it sucks in the state, to be blunt, is an insult to Hoover vacuum cleaners. You have to get out there and vote. That's why I'm going to use the term transitioning into the subject of the California Republican Convention. Okay, I'm kind of happy with the way, I'm a Hilton guy. Everybody out there knows that. But the fact that it was a non-endorsement. I don't want to stymie the Chad Bianco people. Get out there and vote, because your vote and voting conservative up and down the ballot will help everybody in California. Gentlemen, I've hit you with this figure before. Out of 22 million registered voters, 18 million active, trivia question, how many are going to show up for the gubernatorial primary traditionally?
40%.
Maybe 7 mil.
Perfect.
40%.
Good answer. Close enough. I'll give both of you a correct answer. A passing grade, 7 million. Now really think about that. The Democrats have done that because they suppress the vote by doing all these things by mail-in ballots. Well, mail-in ballots makes it easy. Voting has gone down statistically. We've done studies on it since we mail out ballots to everybody, because it's no longer an event. It becomes part of the mail you pile on your counter. They moved the primary around every other cycle from February to June, so the average person gets confused. So we moved the timeline, and what we have is we have less Republicans and conservatives, so not as many as you think in California. We have to get out there and vote. I'm a Hilton guy, but if you're voting for Chad or whoever you're voting for, get out there and vote. Tell your neighbors there's an election going on.
Wait,
Because
there's an
nobody
election
I
going
know.
on?
There's an
Uh-oh.
election going on. Ballots
trouble.
drop now in about 25 days.
Well,
Let's
but to
send
your
them on.
point, Mike, very important
What?
point. If people are dissatisfied, and who is not dissatisfied with California, if only 40% of the people vote, if you get involved, if you vote, get your family to vote, your friends to vote, canvass your neighborhood, there's people that can help you in the Republican Party do that. If you get more people out to vote, you can change what happens. Think about how many elections are won by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 percentage points.
And it's worse.
Okay.
By the way, Kurt, it's worse than that. You have you took what, 22 years to get your 17 degrees from USC. Is that correct?
No, sir, just 8.5.
Okay. How many tests did you turn in that you got a passing grade on where you filled out only 20% of the answers?
I never filled out anything but all the answers, Mike.
Okay. The reason why is this whack job running for state senate? Mike Netter saying that. Because here's the problem. When we talk 38%, a little under 40, voting in the primary, that's people that turn in ballots. Here's the problem. In my state senate race, the people that vote, although 40% of the people will turn in a ballot, they will not vote the entire ballot. We call it the undervote. They vote because they're afraid of making a bad choice. I got news for you. No choice, vote Republican. It's pretty easy. See a Republican, mark yes. You
No
don't know
choice
what
is a bad choice. Yes, we agree.
right. And that's the problem. The undervote, and again, I encourage everybody. I shouted this on stage. I've said this on radio, danced all over the place and said it. I'm going to tell everybody my secret source for some of this data. Only about 10,000 people watch the show, so don't share it. It's called Ballotpedia. In Ballotpedia, if you look at any race for governor, then look at lieutenant governor, secretary of state, controller. We have a real good chance to win about 4 out of the 8 state seats this time, including hopefully my race, which is in a statewide seat. You will see that the aggregate, for those of you that barely made it through public school, the total number of votes for those offices declines. You have governor at 7 million. By the time people get to attorney general, that total's dropped by 10, 15%. Lieutenant governor, 10, 15%. It's like people's arms get tired. Vote the entire damn ballot. It's not just showing up or turning in the test, as Kurt discovered at USC. It's turning in the test complete. Vote and vote the entire ballot.
That's an important point, Mike, because your right to vote includes a lot of offices that impact you. If you don't vote for state senate, then don't complain if there's tampons in your boy's bathroom. Or coming soon to California, because they passed this in Maryland, tampons at the LA Rams and Chargers Stadium. Because in Maryland, they just mandated tampons in a boys' and men's bathroom at the stadium where the Baltimore Ravens play.
Hey, and if you're a Democrat, go ahead and vote for Swalwell. He's still on the ballot.
Yes, that's actually a very good point. Thank you very much. So for those of you, and as you know, many of you know, I run the Steve Hilton group. We're getting a lot. Oh my God, the pamphlets are coming out. A couple things. Some candidates will not be in the pamphlet known as the voter guide because they have not agreed to the spending limits, right? The reason for that is the spending limits passed by the California legislature keep you from doing certain things. Now,
So first of all, before you go too far, see the picture on the screen? You recognize
yes, I
it?
remember that from the horror movie from the 80s, but thank you very much.
No, that's Edgar from MIB. The MIB movie, he was the guy that the alien bug took over and used his skin.
Yeah, that's before Eric Swalwell got elected to Congress. Yes.
Yeah, he kind
Yeah,
of
but
looks like Swalwell
look
a
at
little bit.
he's really close looking to Swalwell.
A little bit.
It's hard to tell the difference. They're both
Think about
scumbags.
Think about how sleazy Swalwell really is. The guy's married. He's trying to sleep with every employee he's got, every girl he meets at a Democrat event. A Chinese spy. I mean, is this guy's pants ever on?
So here he is out there campaigning for the trans guy, pretending to be a girl.
Maybe he was with him too. I don't know.
Well, hold on. Let's finish the important point here.
Wait a second. There's an important point besides just laughing this guy off the stage.
Yes, because I don't want to laugh our viewers and voters out. Let's be clear on something here.
Right.
I'm going to make you an over-under right now that Swalwell gets at least 100,000 votes.
Yes.
Maybe more. Mike. Maybe more.
We're going to go over under 100.
Over.
Because for those of you who aren't aware, he is going to be on the ballot. Well, he's supposedly dropped out because there's a point what's called past the date of withdrawal. This is how dead people have been elected.
So, but now let's go to the underlying issue there. The Democrats have a problem, right? They've got too many Democrats on the ballot. Yeah, just one problem. No, they've got several. But let's talk about the governor's race problem. They got too many Democrats on the ballot. They're afraid that the two leading Republicans who are polling ahead of everybody, all the existing Democrats, that would be Steve Hilton and Chad Bianco. Those two, if they are the two highest vote getters, they go on to November, and then all of a sudden, there won't be a Democrat governor in California. There will be a Republican governor.
Well, hold on. I got a question for Scott and Mike about that. Look what happened with Prop 50. If that happens in June, Mike and Scott, what are the odds the Democrats convene a special session, come up with some anti-democratic law, and find a way to change the system back to not top two, but something else?
They can't because actually we voted in the top two, so even the Democrats can change it.
So there is time to do a Prop 50. Okay.
Not to say that they wouldn't try and put their thumb on the scale somehow, some way, or that this wouldn't be an impetus to go back to the old primary system of the highest Republican and the highest Democrat. But going on, we have a situation here. So now some prognosticators are saying, just like Mike was trying to prognosticate 100,000 votes for Swalwell still, what's going to happen
it'll be more.
what's going to happen is Swalwell, they took him down. And they took him down. Now let's assume that he was polling at around 13%. Let's assume
10, whatever.
Let's assume that his votes get split between Katie Porter and Tom Steyer, the next two highest vote getters, both of whom are ridiculous losers. I can't believe that the Democrats don't have a better bench than what we see on the gubernatorial ballot this time around. But
Okay,
let's say that they are split. And, that's going to determine, I mean, the CTA, the SEIU had both endorsed Swalwell. So now let's say that they unite around another
they already
candidate.
have. In case you missed it, they've already came united around Steyer, who came out with the same Swalwell statements, not to cut you off, but to cut you off this week against ICE and all these things that he's going to do. And Steyer's spending billions of dollars.
So their strategy is they all get behind Steyer. Steyer, was at what, 8%, 9% before all of this. And so they're hoping that, hey, we'll put all 13% behind Steyer, and now he'll be the leader, and you won't be able to split it and get two Republicans.
However, I want to make I think is a very important point. We, the Republicans, and the reason it is important, again, I'm a Hilton guy, okay, but get out there and vote the entire ticket. Let's be clear on a couple things, all right? While we're all talking about the shiny object, which is the governor's race, we have Gloria Romero running for lieutenant governor. We have Herb Morgan running for controller. We have, oh my God, I'm drawing a blank on this. Oh, Don Wagner running Secretary of State.
And Gates
we have
running for
Michael
AG.
Gates running for AG. We have Sonia Shaw running for Superintendent of Public Instruction. We have a really good chance. We are 0 for 8. You heard me correctly, not an embellishment. The last 20 years of getting conservatives and Republicans to any of those 8 offices. We have Mike Netter, the best candidate of all, running for state senate. You got to throw it in. It's worth a pitch. Okay, we have a lot of good people running. And so while our eyes are fascinated and we go to the governor's race, and I get it, we've got to get out there and vote on all these offices. It's not just about the governor's race. The good news is with Hilton, and even I'll call it Chad Light, top of the ticket should be enough to drive vote. Donald Trump, have you heard of him?
Sometimes.
Maybe.
Okay.
Even the liberals use his name regularly.
Endorse Steve Hilton. I recommend you follow Donald Trump's thing and vote for Steve Hilton. But vote. And vote. Just don't vote for Hilton. If you're rah-rah, sis-boom-bow Chad, just don't vote for Chad. Vote the entire damn ticket. If you don't know what the controller does, if you don't know what vote Republican, because we have to take back control of our state, and we're not going to do it with just the governor. This has been debated back and forth. I hear in the groups, oh my God, what are we going to do? Blah, blah. Vote. Okay.
Well, no, you're right. I mean, you sit there and you spend all this time, energy, and money trying to get a voter to the poll. You get a voter to the poll and he votes for governor and doesn't vote for anything else. How stupid is that? So definitely you need to go down. You need to vote all the way down. You're not going to have city council or trash collector on the ballot this time. It's pretty much a partisan race, and it's all going to be the state and legislative offices that are going to be on the ballot. So yes, you need to vote. You need to vote Republican. When in doubt,
and
vote
remember,
Republican.
No, Scott, there are some city council and local races.
There are, but hold on one second. Scott, could you do me a favor? Would you roll that Herb Morgan video? Because I really want people, it's a Herb Morgan campaign video, so to speak, but it's not, to really show you. And by the way, you could have Ronald Reagan as governor right now, which would be weird because he's dead, but what the hell? And unless somebody is paying attention to the books in California, to all this money that is in the system, it really. Scott, do you mind rolling that video? And if you
Yeah,
do,
hold
just
on.
pretend.
Are leaving. Investment is going.
I'm going to swap it here. I'm swapping it. Hold on.
Do you feel there's fraud going on in the state of California?
Everywhere.
Where do you think?
Cities, counties, special districts, hospitals, insurance companies.
Breaking news, the California Controller's top communications official admits that audits are not getting
You guys aren't
done.
even doing any
We're not
audits.
doing like we're not doing it.
Why
I
aren't you
tell
guys
her.
doing the audits though?
We did some of them that
Yeah.
are required, but in order to be more proactive, it requires us to have more staff to be able to do those. And instead of funding us, they cut us. They keep cutting our auditing teams.
Dear Bismarck, I just had to sit down and write you this little love note. Thank you for delivering my victory in November. I honestly don't know if I could have done it without you. I hope your blind date was good. I hope it was magical. You deserve the very best. I'm forever grateful. Herb Morgan.
Yeah, it's kind of a crack up. So here you have what? The chief auditor, not the guy who's elected, who sits there basically saying, we do the absolute minimum necessary to keep our federal dollars going, but we don't actually investigate fraud anywhere.
The auditor reports to
Because
the
he's probably in
controller.
on it, Scott.
The auditor
knows?
reports to the controller. And I want to give a shout out before I forget to Stephanie, who's rocking the shares tonight on Facebook, because again, everybody, you have to get the word out as to what we're talking about. Look, I worked in a really big company for a very long time. I ran sales, computers, and stuff like that. And let's get real. Accounting is never your favorite department to interface with. Nothing against the accountants out there, but there's a reason most of us didn't become accountants, okay? No reason different than most of us didn't go into legal. Negotiated a lot of big contracts. Legal and accounting had to be involved. We banged our heads as part of a common cause. But the reality is this. Those legal people and those accounting people in a really big company kept their jobs because they did their jobs. The Attorney General of California, Rob Bonta, isn't doing his expletive deleted job. The Controller of California isn't doing her job. That auditor reports to the Controller. The fact we audit, and by the way, when your name's auditor, shouldn't you be auditing stuff? I'm just saying, if you're a first baseman for the Dodgers, Kurt, you ought to be playing first base. If you're
You don't have to worry about Freeman. He's a Hall of Famer.
But you see where I'm coming from. These people are not doing their jobs. And the challenge we have is we don't really know what their jobs are. Leading back to the point, I don't care at this point. I'm not here tonight to educate you on the intricacies of your job, no different than why I didn't go accounting for a career or legal for a career. But I'm telling you, we've hit the point. It's no longer debatable because of the balance of the scales of justice, as you and I talked about earlier today, Scott, in the pre-production. The scales of justice are now tilted. The Democrats or the left have their foot on this to the point where the reality is people aren't doing their jobs and they're stealing your money, and that money is being handed out for things like transitioning for people that don't even belong in this country, to healthcare to people that don't even belong in the state, to
They
other
didn't audit these men sitting here in this picture as to whether or not they should have. Are they entitled to those boobs?
I don't know if they could be repossessed, but that's a whole other show that we're not going to do.
No kidding. Okay, what was the other big news this week?
The other big news this week, in addition to the convention itself and Saul Odwell dropping out, and the fact that we're paying for illegal whatever, okay, is that the why you're not looking, as we put a lot of things in Netter News today. It's almost, and I told the reporter this week, and let me take a step back. The problem we have in the news and the media, and I've told a couple reporters this, and it's kind of funny. It's hard for them to write these stories because it's almost like a smorgasbord. There's too much to eat. Okay. So taking a look at Netter News this morning, which go and Google Netter News and subscribe because it's free and you have that kind of money. Okay.
Well,
And I
Mike,
want you
with the high taxes in California, that's about all you can afford.
which is another point. They're
'Cause
trying
it's
to
free.
pass even more taxes in California every day. Now, let's take a quick look at something, and I want to read from my own newsletter for a reason as soon as I find it. It comes out twice a day on Thursdays, and what we do is we try to put together or aggregate, as we like to say, to be smarter, okay? A lot of the things that you may be aware of or things you may have missed. So, in addition to the Republican convention and the endorsement, so by the way, we endorsed most of the ticket. We left Governor open because that's the one that people are most passionate about. And Swagwell resigning, the fact that the Hilton's Doge uncovered another 57 million this week. Okay. The fact also, by the way, that when Doug LaMoffa died, he was a congressman. Gavin Newsom waited until the last possible minute with the longest possible window to call an election because he has to by law for Congress. When Eric Swalwell, the slime ball, was forced to resign from Congress this week, Gavin Newsom, and yes, Gavin, I'm on your email list, sent out an email saying we don't want people to be without representation, so we're immediately going to call a special election in the shortest time possible. So, Gavin, why doesn't it cut both ways? We know why it doesn't. It's partisan politics. But let's be really clear on that. The California Democrats do everything they can to suppress democracy and suppress people having a voice while lying to you, telling you they're out to give people a voice. That's another big story that's not getting enough pub this week.
Yes. And
I'm
you think it
tossing
will?
it back to you guys. That's why I'm being quiet for 1 second.
Okay, there's so much going on in California. It's like we don't know where to start. I mean, we still haven't even, hardly broken the surface of all the fraud. We're looking at fraud somewhere in the neighborhood of $200 billion in California alone. It'll make, Tim Walz in Minnesota look like a piker. We got the shakeup in the governor's race. We have the fraud has gotten so rampant that they're passing bills. They call it the anti-Nick Shirley bill, which is going to outlaw journalists from uncovering fraud. I don't know how they do that because that's, a free speech issue.
Well, we
as
talked about that at the
Kurt
beginning.
pointed
It's
out.
unconstitutional, Scott.
Where do you start? I got I read a great article, if you guys are up for it, about the 5 reasons that Newsom should be the nominee for president. Want to hear them?
Sure.
Okay. The 5 reasons. First is, and this came from a liberal or a guy who would at best be called, a moderate that calls balls and strikes and doesn't try and take a side. And it was promoted by his friend, John Fleischman, who flat out said, hey, he's not a conservative. So take it with a grain of salt. So this first point is the simplest one. Newsom's already ahead. Hey, people want to get on with the front runner. want to join the winning party. You're going to get the best fundraisers and staff and things like that. Second, Newsom looks the part. As much as you like to sit there and say that, he's a slime ball, he's got lots of oil in his hair, he's like, what do you want me to be kind of a guy. He looks presidential. He dresses presidential. He acts presidential. Third, he argues that Newsom is from, and the record he built here in California will take him further amongst the base, right? The liberal, he comes from the heart of liberalness in San Francisco, and it's going to help him with the base. He got on the same-sex marriage bandwagon way before it was mainstream. Fourth, he argues that Newsom will have the money. He's great at fundraising. He's got a proven record of fundraising. He's got a fundraising machine that's well-oiled and been used. He'll have the money. And the last reason, fifth, is that he's kind of carved out that lane that I'll fight Trump. I'll stand up to Trump. I'm going to sue him every time he turns around. And I'm going to fight him. Okay. So that's the 5 reasons why he should be the nominee. But he also has 3 reasons why he should not be. Okay. First one is, it is California. What we did and what he does with the base is not going to sell well in the rest of the state, rest of the country. Flyover country looks at California as a disaster, not a state to be emulated. Second argument is Newsom is too slick. He is taking different positions, kind of depending on which way the wind blows, and he looks like a presidential candidate, but he comes across too polished, too smooth, too much like a used car salesman. And the third and last item that he believes he should not be the nominee for is that nobody really knows, and it's not entirely clear what Newsom actually believes in, because he doesn't have an ideology other than the fact he's anti-Trump and anti-MAGA. He went out of his way, tried to get Charlie Kirk, Michael Savage, Steve Bannon on his podcast, actually said, hey, it's unfair for women to compete against men, but he didn't change anything. He went right back to his liberal stripes. He shouldn't be there because, he's got no ideology. What he does is pretty bad. What do you guys think?
Missing out the biggest one of all that came out this week, and I was talking to reporters about that. If anybody has baggage in their closet and needs a bigger closet to put the baggage in, it's Gavin Newsom. And his team, Relativity, if you will, has done a pretty good job of stashing some of the baggage that we know about. Yes, indeed, having relations with his ex-best friend's wife, but there's a lot more stories, as in Susan Crabtree's book, Fool's Gold. Everybody who knows Gavin, has met Gavin, been around Gavin, knows that. Just as everybody who was around Eric Swalwell, knew Eric Swalwell, knew he was a slime ball. Now, in California, he was able to rise to the top, if you will, as governor. Let's get real. Because the Republican opposition for his 2 elections were relatively weak. Sorry, John Cox, who I know. Sorry, Brian Dolly, who I know. But both of you know that you weren't the strongest of candidates to go up against Gavin Newsom.
So he's never been tested.
He's never been tested. He hasn't been tested 100%. The amount of, everything from and this is the part, we talk about these same things over and over again. But Gavin Newsom going to parties with a 19-year-old who was too young to drink, but old enough for Gavin to date when he was 38 years old, is forgotten a little bit in the shells of history. Thanks, Magdalena. We see Advertising Radio, and thanks, Bianca, for your thing we see there. So these same-sex marriages, a lot of the issues that we talk, the reality is, that Gavin Newsom himself doesn't stand scrutiny. Let's talk about his successful wineries, because Trump, no, let's not. Because where's he selling the wine? Kurt,
Sounds
I
like
got
you
one
ever had a
for you.
bottle- have you ever had a bottle of Plump Jack wine?
No. Mike, to your point about his weaknesses, you talk about him sleeping with his campaign manager's wife. He's a scumball like Swalwell. His wife is going to be a huge negative on the campaign trail with all her nutty talk about not raising boys as boys and all of her sweetheart deals where she's scamming the taxpayers. But also, Mike, do you know what percentage of Gavin Newsom's book was purchased by his PAC?
Well, I'm going to give 80%. 50%.
2/3 of the books that were purchased that were by Gavin Newsom's PAC.
Okay,
Split
so
the middle.
that split the difference. There you go.
Yeah.
Because that means no one bought the stupid book.
Of course not. And by the way,
Wait a second, he's got a book?
but everything
I thought
we're
he was
talking
dyslexic. How do you do that?
I want to go back to the fact that Gavin Newsom, under the scrutiny, only in California could he get away between governor. There are a lot more people vying to become president. It's a different spotlight. And the people, when we write about, yes, the California record and all that, 100%. But the man himself, Gavin Newsom, and to your point, Kurt, and his wife and the whole ball of wax that goes with it, will not stand up to the public scrutiny. There is way too much in that closet that we haven't even talked about. Again, I encourage everybody out there, get the book Fool's Gold by Susan Crabtree and Peter Schweitzer. Read that. Read really just the deep political roots of it, no less the various sex scandals, which aren't even all reported in that book. The reality is Gavin Newsom, only because we talk about him, we only talk about him because he does such a poor job running the state. And he makes it to be a big deal with his book and other things, and doing a podcast, promoting himself. It's not the public promoting Gavin Newsom. It's a lot like Tom Steyer. They're promoting themselves. Hold on, leave that up on the screen for a second. I want to take a picture here.
Send it to Susan.
Exactly. Okay. You have to go take a look at this. Okay. And you have to understand that between everything we talk about here, guys, okay, if we can get Republicans in office this cycle that will open the books, that's why they're in a panic about Swalwell and the rest of these things. Okay, remember, this cycle determines for the next 4 years who has access to the true inside of California books. The presidential election is in about 2.5 years. And so that's another reason which I don't think is brought up a lot. They want to stop Mike Netter from becoming for state senate because they don't want us to vote things in that allow the books to be open, because we'll hide the sins long enough where hopefully somebody from California and maybe Gavin will be able to take control of the USA books. I don't think most of the United States will buy it, never had, but you really want to blow this open. With all due deference to my co-hosts and everybody, quit talking about 2028. Focus on 2026. Because to that point of Herb Morgan's video and the auditor and the other things that we've seen, we have to know the scope of what has been happening in California. The biggest state in the union, the most population, the most fraud, just that we've seen. We have to do something about it. We have to get people like, go ahead.
Mike, you made a really important point there. You're a baseball guy. Can you win tomorrow's baseball game today?
No.
No. The only election that matters right now is 2026, because that's the one
Correct.
where that's this year's election.
And we have to win these elections. Netter.vote, my website is up. And by the way, for everybody out there, I welcome your input on it. Okay? I get into arguments with liberals and very little online here. It's pretty simple. Lower costs. Safer communities, local businesses, lower costs also means lower taxes. Okay. I don't see how people are making $150,000 a year and can't survive. That's because the government of California is taking too much of that money and spending on things that you didn't vote for. It's pretty simple. We like to make it complicated so we sound smart. It's really pretty simple. We don't spend enough money on crime prevention, people are going to get shot. We don't spend enough money. This is Gavin Newsom and the Democrats, and it's not Gavin, it's the people enabling Gavin, which are the legislature. Do you know why they're closing prisons? They're claiming it's a cost-saving measure. Now let's think
they
about
released all the bad guys onto the street.
Because it saves money. How insane is that? What does it cost? What does it cost Los Angeles County, for example, in lawsuits over these same people that they've released? Think about that. What does it cost?
If a guy got out of jail because these turkeys let him out and they killed one of my loved ones, I'm not sure what I would do. But the guy wouldn't be safe on the streets, that's for sure.
Well, now, Scott, you raise a really interesting point. You see this all over the country, including in California, where liberal judges are refusing to hold violent criminals and give them small bail so they can get out and commit more crimes, and are refusing to go ahead and sentence violent criminals to appropriate sentences, and they're getting out of jail and killing and raping and robbing again. At some point, I would like to see victims sue the judge as an accessory to the crime, and I'd like to see the federal government sue the state judge that won't keep violent criminals in jail. At some point, the judge has culpability for these crimes if they won't protect the public.
The parole boards themselves that are releasing them, which are picked by the governor and approved by the legislature, it's a complicated morass we lead, but it's not complicated. Vote, expletive, deleted differently. Okay? It's real simple. And by voting differently, for those of you I've been voting Republican, you haven't been voting on 100% of the offices. They got this guy Steyer who's running on abolishing ICE. He can't abolish ICE, you idiot. But let's put that down.
Certainly not as governor.
No, not really at any. Okay, but let's put.
What's the difference between abolish ICE and abolish the police? The liberals have the same thing. They want to get rid of the police and let the criminals out of jail. And where does that leave us?
Where it leaves us with this, you control. To Kirk's point, which is odd to say he had a good one, but I'm going to roll with that one. You can't win tomorrow's game today. Start with what you control. You control your vote and you control your voice. Join us on social media to push that voice out there. Join us by voting on 100% of your ballot. If you're a Democrat, it's okay if you stay home. Because if you feel that you can't take this anymore, then don't vote. If you're a conservative and tired of taking this, vote. You control that. Tell somebody there's a damn election going on.
Well, to your point, Mike, we talked about these liberal judges that won't sentence violent criminals. That's another argument to do your homework, find out who's on the ballot, and vote against judges that will let criminals out to harm you.
And you can do that, but here's the thing for everybody. I go through this every cycle. Yes, indeed, do that. But don't get analysis paralysis, everybody, and be afraid of voting on these other offices. The judges are nonpartisan. If you're not sure, you can skip that box. I'm not okay with it, but I'll roll with it. But here's what I want you to do. If it's a partisan office, to bring back that balance of scales of justice where the left has it like this. We have to get their foot off of it. And you're only going to do that if you vote for the side which is the underdog. Hence, Kurt, as you know, why I'm a Padre fan. Gentlemen, it's about 7:30. I'm still working on European time here. So let's go ahead and hit a roll before I doze off.
All
Go for
right,
it.
we had so many horrible things happen this week. It's hard to know how to end, but let's see if we can find something that will make everyone's blood boil here at the end of the show. You want to go to the Olympics, Mike and Scott? Get ready to get your wallet out, because it's not like 1984 when I got some $5 and $10 and $20 tickets. The Olympic fans are shocked by the high cost of Olympic tickets and the service fees up to 24%.
Yeah, that being said, though, Kurt, I'm going to tell you that's true. But I did get tickets to the Olympics at a reasonable price. And again, that what's I think more important about the Olympics is the fact that the elected officials in Los Angeles have not negotiated an agreement with the Olympic Committee for security and other things, as I will probably be in next week's Netter News. So the city of Los Angeles may go in debt for money they don't have for $250 million because they didn't negotiate well, and they're going to be out of the building. Back to you, Kurt.
Well, but there's another problem, Mike. Karen Bass is trying to make sure no one is able to drive to the Olympic events. And in the city of Long Beach, run by liberal zealots, they're not going to let anyone near the Olympic rowing events that are scheduled to take place in Long Beach Harbor because of security. So if you want to go see something that's not exactly a primetime event like rowing, good luck getting anywhere near the venue, finding a place to park, and getting into the place where you can see the event.
I'm going to take a boat.
Take a boat. That's the easy. Then you don't have to pay your ticket prices.
Oh, no, they're going to shut down. No, they're going to shut down the harbor, including in front of the Long Beach Yacht Club. So those Long Beach Yacht Club members won't even be able to sail for 2 weeks.
What year are the Olympics?
2028.
28.
So I want to go back to an important point. Yes, indeed, this is important. If you want to change all that, make sure you vote in 2026. Kurt, give me one more story and let's wrap her up, and then Scott.
All right. Well, on a related thing, before we get to the one more, anybody looked at World Cup tickets, including in Los Angeles? Mike, what do you think a ticket costs for U.S. versus Paraguay at the Rams and Chargers Stadium? Lowest to highest.
Oh, I would say $200 to $1,000.
Multiply by 10.
Okay, great.
2,200 to 25 grand.
What?
And as my son's hitting coach used to say, soccer is for people that cannot play baseball. It's a boring sport.
But evidently it's for rich people who can't do that.
But apparently can afford the team.
Rich liberals,
Scott, give me a wrap up here.
I'm going to reiterate a little bit about what you say as far as voting down ticket. You know, if we don't turn this state around, rather than having the country turn back to conservatism, to the founders principles of nature's God, I think that California's the front line, and we're there. And if we don't stand up, as California goes, the rest of the country is likely to go. So if we can't sit there and, like, for instance, Prop 50 gave 5 more seats to the Democrats. Well, we still have to vote those guys in, and we as voters can stop that. Let's not vote 5 more Democrats in. Let's get 5 more Republicans. And back in his face, we can turn it around. We have the power. The voters have the power. So all I can say is, if you don't vote, you get what you vote for. and you deserve what you get. And if you bitch and complain and you
But
don't
we
vote,
don't deserve
I
it.
don't care what you say.
But Scott, we don't
Scott, do
deserve
me a
it.
favor
People don't.
before put my emblem up on the screen if you could. Mike Netter for Senate.
Yeah, hold on. I just have to go back.
Because
up
I
and
want
find
to end on this. Live in the present.
it. Went away. Sorry.
We do this show every week, and I'm running for the state Senate because I give a damn. And those of you that watch the show, I know you give a damn too. But here's where I need your help. We have to make best use of the resources we have, and they're going to outraise us monetarily wise. We're going to outwit them, and it's our cycle to do it. I would ask you go to netter.vote this week, make a $10 donation, a $20 donation. Do what you can. Do me a favor and invest. It's an investment. It's like Bitcoin when Bitcoin was new, because that really is what the conservative Republican movement and my campaign is all about. It's time.
So,
we
Mike,
gotta-
for the benefit of those watching and listening, which cities is your district in for your state
It's the
Senate race?
East San Gabriel Valley. It's Ontario, Pomona, Azusa, Covina, Baldwin Park, the East San Gabriel Valley. It covers 1 million people. Bigger than the congressional seats that we tend to focus on, because that's what the press does. And here's the reality. There'll be about a 20% turnout for this seat. I will win this seat because conservatives and logical Democrats and independents will come out and vote for change. Not going to mention my opponent's name, but the reality is pretty corrupt, already under federal investigation. Is that what you want? No, it's not. Vote. Vote the entire ticket, because remember, when you go in to vote, there's governor's race is important. The top of the ticket is important, but the entire ticket will determine your fate for the next 4 years. We are California Free Radio. It's your damn state. You've been empowered to take it back. Do it. We'll be back next week. God bless and good night.
They said, try.